Hey guys, it's Andre, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to track text onto footage, basically. And as you can see, this is the footage we will be dealing with today. As you can see, it's shaky, which is bad. It goes out of focus towards the end, which is bad. Basically, you can't get any worse than this footage unless the entire scene is out of focus. So you want to open up After Effects, just dragging your footage. It's all fairly standard stuff. To create a composition with the exact settings of the footage, you can either bring it down here and put it there, or just drag it directly onto your timeline, and then you'll get this up. Next are two ways to track. Now if you have terrible footage like this, you want to choose track camera. If you have footage where it basically stays still but there's a bit of camera jiggle, you want to choose the track motion, as it'll be much faster. Let me show you what happens if we choose track motion with this kind of footage. I'm going to set this on there. Or actually, you want high contrast points when using this one. So I'm going to put on that black dot in the middle of the whiteness. And then rotation and scale. I'm going to activate those two since we do move and it does scale. And I'm going to set this on this red part. And as you can see, if I go out, it looks fine at the start more or less. Though it's not even sticking that much now. And then as I go out, it looks still fine, and then, oh, see, it just jumped. And it just jumped again, and now it's all over the place. So, as you can see, this isn't optimal, but hey, it's actually done surprisingly well because I chose surprisingly good points. But as you can see, it's not moving as the camera is, it's completely out of place, but it's still surprising that it's done this well. And as you can see, it's okay. If I were to now put text against that, so I'll get a null, and you will edit target, set to the null, and apply X and Y. As you can see, now you have a null that should be sticking. It's sticking okay. And if I were to put text on top of that, I will get a bit of text. So get some text, and I will type, and I can parent it to the null. And now if I were to look, the text should match the null. Again, it's not on the correct plane, so I'm going to fix that by enabling 3D onto this object. And now I'm going to try and match the plane. Now you can also do this without enabling 3D, and if you don't have a powerful computer, that might be suggested. Generally speaking though, if you're doing anything in 3D tracking, you don't want to mess around with this when you're moving it. You want to mess around with touching the actual thing. You only want to mess around with those for the actual rotation. And I'm going to scale it up a bit. And as you can see, there we go. It's flat on it. And I'm going to render this out. And as you can see, as I explained before, it's not going to stick towards the end because it's completely out of focus towards the end. But it has a fairly good start. And it actually wobbles with the camera fairly good. Now what you would want to do with footage like this is actually just go on to the tracker menu again. If you don't see the tracker menu, just come to window and enable the tracker menu. It's right here. Is just click on the footage and click track camera. Much simpler. You don't have to select any high contrast points. It does it all by itself. And we're just going to let it go through. Okay, so it's about to finish right now. It's doing the last couple frames, and there we go. Now it's going to try and solve the camera. If this part takes a long time, you know you don't have that good of a track. But an even better way to check if you have a good track is to just come here and check the average error. Anything below 1 is brilliant, but again, our footage does go blurry towards the end, so we can expect it to go to 1.11. If you have terrible things, you might want to do a detailed analysis, but if it's not working at all, just bump up the sharpness of your footage, render it out, and then bring it in. Even if you're going to delete your footage later and you're just using it to track for the text, you do want to do it as it'll at least salvage your footage a bit. But in my case, I could do a detailed analysis, but I think this is actually going to do us just fine. And I'm just going to check if the points stick more or less. Yeah, they're sticking. It's just that towards the end there are many of them. So I'm going to come to the start, and I'm going to select a point I like. If you can get one on the plane that you want it on, it's going to make it a lot easier as you don't need to rotate it in 3D space. But I'm actually going to select one up here, just because I want my text to be hovering up there. Create text. As you can see, if I wanted my text to just sit there, I could just do that, and like scale it and maybe even do a bit of masking, but I actually want it to stand up like before, so I'm gonna make it stand up. And as I explained, guys, you rotating by these axes is perfectly fine. You just don't want to scale by these axes. Scale by these axes by pushing the Z back or messing around with any of them in arrow mode. Just don't. You're gonna screw up your entire thing. You can test it out though if you want. Just don't expect it to work fine. So I'm gonna scale down this text, and I'm actually gonna write in it what I want this time. GTX 980, because this is the graphics card we are looking at right here. It's the one that's actually in this computer. This is this actual computer. And there we go. Make it stand up. Drag this to where I want it to be. Maybe scale it up a bit. I don't know. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. And I'm gonna fix it again a bit because I can tell it's not perfect. And this has to go back a tiny bit. There we go. And now it seems like it's on the correct plane from here. And if I go back, it's staying fairly well. Now to hide the imperfections, here's an actual trick. Since I'm going out of focus here, I'm actually going to work out when do I start zooming out. I start zooming out about here. And by zooming out, I mean actually pulling out the camera. And I'm going to come to here. Actually, before that, I'm going to come to effects. I'm going to look for blur. And you can choose either fast blur or Gaussian blur, whatever it's called. Gaussian blur. And I'm going to select Gaussian blur myself since I prefer it. It looks more like camera blur. And just go out to where it stops. Zooming out to about here for me. And here, I'm going to try and match it up basically. So, does that look right? Yeah, that looks about right. So as you can see, as it zooms out, it also goes out of focus. So let's render this out. And here we go. As you can see, it is a fairly terrible one. As I told you, this footage wasn't perfect, and even worse in this situation. But if I come here, I did do this track before and it came out actually quite a lot better. So here it is. And so that's how my actual final track was. As you can see, it sticks almost perfectly. Literally, it looks like it's part of the scene. Basically, if you get a bad track like that, don't worry. You can just like delete the text. It only takes a couple seconds. Select another point to track. Try that one until you get one that sticks fairly well. If you can't find one that sticks fairly well, you might want to, again, try the detailed analysis or just sharpen up your footage. For me, this just like second try and it worked perfectly. I chose a point closer to here, I believe, this time. Again, choosing a point near where you want to put the text does make it a lot easier. But yeah, so this was how to track 3D text onto footage. Thank you for watching this video, guys. As always, comment, rate, subscribe. If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. And see you guys.